I hate smiling in public. Just walking by strangers and giving them a huge grin that could light up a blackout as though I know them from somewhere. It makes me feel like I'm being insincere, like I'm telling a bald faced lie or something. That I feel happy to be in their presence when in fact I don't know them. Why should I be happy to see them? And they know that too. They're looking at me, dependent on the smile, asking themselves, why is he smiling at me like that? Do I know him? Do I need to replicate this big smile when maybe I might be in a bad mood? There was a phase in my life where I decided to try it on anyways. I put on a smile whenever I went to class, whenever I was working. I tried to keep it for as long as possible, and it was hard work. It was very difficult, especially when I was in a bad mood, to keep this smile going. Eventually, I decided to let it go. Actually, it wasn't intentional. It just slowly phased itself out, and I think for good reason, because it started to feel like I was being arrogant. People who saw me just smiling all the time, regardless of what was happening, I'm sure started to feel like it was a smirk. There's something about a consistent smile that I think just starts to look like a smirk, even if it's not intended as one. After I stopped doing it, I realized that there are times when such smiles are more appropriate, not only when they're more sincere, because if that were the case, then I would only be smiling at, friends or family who I'm actually excited to see. But I came to learn that even if I wanted to give the same impression to strangers, that I mean well and that I'm friendly and all of that, I could still do it, but there has to be a change in the smile. So my mentality shifted from either or to how to do it in such a way that actually precisely gets the receiver of the smile to respond as I intend for them to. And that happened when I realized that when I meet a stranger, I think the best for me to do as far as the smile goes is for me to give them just a small smile, something that might put them at ease if they weren't already with my presence. But it doesn't take much. They're not expecting much. They're not expecting anything for the most part. And for me to give them a slight smile is more than enough to assure them that I mean well. But if I overdid it, which I think I was doing, and gave them a bigger smile, then I just look like an insufferable human being. Either that or I know them somewhere is what they might be thinking, but they know that I don't know them, so it just becomes confusing. So I started to tailor my smiles a little bit more, and I realized that makes such a huge difference, not only for strangers, but also for friends and family, maybe even especially friends and family, because by adjusting the way that I smile, I'm able to build a stronger connection with them. Let me explain what I mean by adjusting my smile. I already said it when it comes to strangers, but how do I do that when it comes to friends and family? Well, with friends and family, I want to give them the assurance, just like I want to do with strangers, but I want to add an additional layer on top to let them know that the connection that I have with them is one that is stable, that our last interaction was one that I appreciated, and that I appreciate their current, I appreciate the current moment that I have with them. All of that can be bottled up in that single smile. The first way that I start to do that is first by not smiling immediately. This is yet another benefit of not smiling all the time, is that it gives you the opportunity to immerse your smile in sincerity when you finally smile. If I saw a friend who noticed that I was already smiling before I saw them, they're not going to think anything of that. They're going to think, oh, he's just given a one-size-fits-all to everybody. There's nothing special about it. But if I saw a friend and the first thing he noticed is that I have a neutral face, and a split second later, he notices a smile erupt on my face. How does that feel? Look at this. Versus, there is really a big difference to these subtleties about smiling, and I think it's one that often goes underappreciated. So in addition to waiting and being more precise about how I'm smiling, I started to smile a bigger smile when I am in the presence of friends and family, and a more mild smile when I'm in the presence of strangers, and not a consistent one. So to put it more plainly, when it comes to either strangers or family and friends, is to not smile all the time. Second is, when it comes to strangers, when you do smile, make sure it's one that is erupting and one that is very mild. So a mild smile, like, "Hi, how are you?" Something like that. It looks more sincere. They feel that sense of camaraderie, of connection, when they see someone who notices them, who otherwise seem to be neutral or maybe even upset, and now the person is beaming. That is such a powerful feeling, not only for that friend or acquaintance or family, but also for ourselves. There's this idea that when we are happy, we smile. But more and more research seems to be suggesting that smiling also makes us happy. So waiting only for happy moments in order to smile is not the only way to, it's not the only route, so to speak, towards smiling. Smiling can be intentional, can be very deliberate, but bring with it that feeling of warmth in ourselves and in others that could have been the reason why we smiled in the first place. So it's a beautiful cycle, if you will. Smile leads to well-being, well-being leads to smiles. I want to end it at that. I almost forgot the you smile versus the straight smile. Another thing that makes such a huge difference when it comes to smiling is when we smile and we only go like this. It almost screams, "I'm trying so hard to keep a smile for you," versus like this, which sends that message that it doesn't take me, it sends the message that in spite of the extra work that it takes me to smile like that, you are worth it. That you genuinely give me that feeling of happiness that produces this smile. And no one is going to think that that is unintentional or insincere if it's done the right way. If you go around keeping that same smile on your face all the time, for one, it's not practical. You're going to exhaust yourself. And two, you're going to appear insincere. But by being more selective about the timing of your smile, and also being more selective about how you're smiling, being more aware of how you're smiling, we're able to have such a huge difference in the sincerity and the potency of our smile.